Okay. Hello everyone. Let's go for the 5th session. Okay. We're on time. So today let's check 15 minutes with me regarding the introduction and if we have questions regarding previous session. I won't do the recap this time and we'll directly go to the first segment with Benjamin, Arunesh, and I think Cesar will arrive in a few minutes. We'll have a food break, the best part, the second segment, and we'll wrap up just after. Still the same code of conduct. This is a safe place. If you don't feel safe, you can contact us. You organizer. Still the same team, but today currently we are 3. Stacy is still sick. Raphael, she had a dog problem, so I don't know if will come. Cesar is late, so we are good. Big thank to our partners. Still the same team. Still the same QR code. Still the same QR code. Still the same QR code, the same QR code. Do not forget to use your skills credit on Skills Boost. So again, if you haven't received any email regarding using Skills Boost, you can contact me. We'll check together. And directly, do you have any question regarding the previous session we had together? No? Okay, I think we can start. Benjamin, you want to introduce yourself? Stage is yours.
Hello guys, hope you're doing well. Really don't hesitate if you have some... Oh fuck. If you have some question, we are not so many today, so don't hesitate. If you have any question regarding any topics, just don't hesitate. Okay. So today we have to finish the module 4. It was especially dedicated to the different way that we can deploy some application inside the cloud. So we thought together Cloud Function, Cloud Run to deploy a web application. We already see the old-fashioned way, so Compute Engine with Managed Instance Group. We saw a little bit more about the cloud storage. And yes, it was the last slide before we stopped last week. But we were talking about a little bit of basic knowledge of Kubernetes object. So in the exam, I don't think you have any question regarding to Kubernetes especially. But it's important to have this basic knowledge. So basically, when we are deploying some application inside the Kubernetes cluster, we are talking about pod. Pod is the basic unit of, and the basic unit of your application. You can for sure, and this is the best practice, use a deployment. We specify the number of version of pod that you want to be delivering some traffic, and especially the service also very important who can expose. We saw that last week with the famous endpoint. Deployment is just finding the IP of the pod who is currently running to just be able to deliver the traffic to the end user. So no big deal about kubectl and this command line on the exam topic. You don't have those kind of questions. Direct little quick question. What is the declarative way to initialize and update Kubernetes object? Do you know the difference between declarative mode and imperative mode in terms of command line execution? So basically with the declarative way, we are talking about some statement that we need to have with the command. For example, apt-get, for people who knows Linux, is a declarative way to handle the package management.
Is it like Terraform?
Sorry?
Is it like Terraform or Cloud Formation?
Yes, we talk about Terraform, and Terraform is also.
Declarative language, I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So basically, the question is pretty straightforward. I think we didn't saw that, but I can demonstrate if you want to. Someone have the answer? Yeah. kubectl apply, need a flag, -f, and specify a YAML file. If I do this command 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, without changing any information inside this YAML, nothing happens. But if I change 1 character, 1 spec, the number of replica, for example, for deployment, yes, it happened. Okay? kubectl create is definitely an imperative way to create an object, but you don't have to specify a YAML. You can, but you have a warning inside your console. Replace is not working, and kubectl run is working also, but definitely the kubectl apply is the one and only declarative way to initialize and update Kubernetes object. Okay? You want me to demonstrate a little bit those kind of information, or we can go straight to a more GCP stuff?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Cool. So yes, kubectl, 2 type of commands: imperative, run, create, replace, delete. Basically, it overwrites existing state inside the database with etcd inside the cluster. And the declarative way is just, yes, working on a config file or YAML based. And yes, we need to specify what is the state of the object that we want to have inside the cluster. Okay? And this is the magic of Kubernetes. There is a bunch of control loop inside the cluster is just watching the contract that you have specified with your manifest YAML and the way that they are actually running as you wish.
Just a question. So,
yeah.
for Kubernetes, the etcd storage is just for internal use. It's not for the application.
Yes, this is the database management, especially used for control plane usage inside Kubernetes. Kubernetes is a little bit tricky, but yes, you have to understand that this database, etcd, that is a database with key value pair, just simply as that. But yes, this is the critical component of Kubernetes. When you are applying your command with kubectl apply, you are talking with the control plane, who is checking inside this database if this object already exists and if all the specs are respected. Okay? So basically, if I do a kubectl apply on a deployment who specify 2 replica of my pod, when I do that, the control plane is just talking to the database to just know if I have my deployment name, symbol, web already in the cluster, if we have 2 replica, these specs, and so on and so on. Okay? And if I do it again, and I just change the number of replica of my instances inside the deployment, this is the same loop. I'm talking with the control plane, who is talking to the TCD, and yes, you saw a change inside the spec, and the number of replica is updating the information inside the database. But yes, it's a little bit more tricky. Before updating, it's just deploying a new instance of your pod, waiting to the pod to be running, and after that is updating the database. So you have a bunch of resources to just deep dive a little bit more with GKE, especially GKE. It's a good thing to learn a little bit about Kubernetes, especially if you want to do some DevOps stuff, and just to have a light understanding of Kubernetes, which is really important in terms of skills on the market. So managing cloud resources, just a quick point on Cloud Run. This is totally serverless. You don't have to manage the underlying infrastructure, but it's based on a project with Knative, with basically a solution that you can install inside your cluster, your Kubernetes cluster, at your on-premise or on AWS or whatever the solution managed in terms of Kubernetes. And this solution, Knative, is really cool because if you have a cloud function or if you have a Cloud Run, who are totally serverless, you can generate the YAML files and you can give it to an on-demand cluster and just applying the same behavior. Okay? So Cloud Run is based on a solution with Knative solution, and this is totally open source. So Cloud Run is pretty cool. Just fill your Docker containers, the number of maximum instance. You can adjust application traffic splitting parameters based on the different revision that you handle inside your service. And you can set scaling parameters to just be able to handle the way that your application is auto-scaling. So quick question on Cloud Run. You have a Cloud Run service with a database backend, for example, a Cloud Run with just dialoguing with a Cloud SQL instance based on Postgre. And we want to limit the number of connections to our database. What should we do? We set the min instance, we set the max instances, we are setting the CPU utilization, or set the concurrency settings.
Set the max instances.
Anyone else? That's okay? Max instance? Yeah. This is not especially the good way to handle the maximum database connection for infrastructure guys and the database administrator. But yes, definitely with max instance, you can just limit the number of connections that you have inside your pool. Min instance is just a little bit more about FinOps to just minimize the number of instances that you can have, even if the traffic grows up. CPU usage is more about the auto-scaling part, and concurrency settings is the number of HTTP requests that each instance can handle at the same time. Yep.
What is the difference between max instance and concurrency settings?
Concurrency settings is just about the number. I don't know there are. This is a good question. I'm going to cheat with you guys. Yeah. So this is the same word that Azure is using. Basically, the concurrency settings is not the word that GCP is showing us inside the web console, but this is the maximum of HTTP requests that your application, your web application can handle. Okay? Cool. So yeah, Cloud Run is pretty cool. Your services is scaling based on your parameters. We can play with the set concurrency. We can set the min instance. It can scale down to 0. It's very important to just remind that yes, we can scale to 0 if we don't have any traffic. We can set the max instance if you want to just limit your billing, for example, but you can also set your max instance, for example, like the question before, to just handle the maximum connection on your database backend, for example. So just more resource on the different course that you can take. Last week we were talking a little bit about cloud storage solution. So the famous bucket. So we saw how we can create a bucket with the gcloud command line, gcloud storage, create the name of your bucket. If you don't specify the location, the default location is US in multi-region. You can just add more parameters to this command line to enforce your location. You can use dual region. zone, just one zone, multi-region, stuff like that. One stuff who is really powerful inside the bucket, this is the different storage class that we can have inside the bucket. We saw that we can, the basic one and the default one is standard for current operation in terms of read or write. But we can also move this storage class on nearline, call line, and archive if you have a audit log that you don't need to read one more month, for example. So you have to remind the different way that you can manage your storage class. Nearline is for 13 days. Cold line is for 19 days, and archive is for 1 year, as far as I remember. Yeah?
360, yeah.
Cool.
Is there like a way for it to be like, I don't know if AWS they've got the S3, which is the cloud storage equivalent, into this tiering? I think like you put your policies and say like if you don't access this the next 5 like 30 days, it will automatically, without you having to manually do it, move back to the archive or to a different class of storage.
Exactly. We can handle that with the object lifecycle management policy. For example, you can have a bucket with a standard, and you can think about defining some rules to tell the bucket and the object inside the bucket that, okay, if this object is older than 13 days, please move this object, especially this object, inside the same bucket. But you can move the object storage class to call line, for example, or archive, or whatever the criteria that you are giving to the object lifecycle management.
This is something you have to do it yourself, or does it come like
You have to do, you can do it yourself.
do you pay for it? That's my question.
No, you don't pay for the object lifecycle management. But the pricing model is a little bit trickier, because if you have a bucket with the archive storage class, for example, and if you put a bunch of objects inside this bucket, the sizing storage pricing is not huge. But if you download one file inside this bucket,
Yeah. Well,
you're going to pay a lot of money to just grab this.
costs.
Exactly. So we are talking about operation class A, B, C. This is a little bit more advanced, but yes, there is a pricing for each type of action: deleting, reading, downloading, stuff like that. And just lately, the GCP provide a new feature. This is the auto storage class feature that you can put inside your bucket. So based on machine learning algorithm, there are just yes.
Say auto class.
Yes, auto class storage. So basically, they are providing you object lifecycle management based on their algorithm, and based on the behavior of your bucket and the object inside your bucket.
Subscription model, like you have to pay for it.
This is a good question. This is a good question. I'm going to check at the post to just answer your question. I never tested it for the moment, because I handle my object not manually, but with object lifecycle management, because it's.
So when you create a bucket, right, so there is the cost associated with it. So standard is different, archive is different, right? So I think at that time when you create a bucket, a particular class, the money is attached to it. The kind of how much it will go. So
Yeah.
So if I keep 1 gig in standard, it's different for a month. But
Yes. Yes, for sure.
I keep that way, so I see this much is the money. So when we create a compute engine, we have another bucket. When we create a bucket, yeah, so it says how much money you have to pay,
Yep.
right? So if you change the class,
It's decreasing.
yes.
Yes.
Right, so
Yeah.
So that then there is the auto class, and this question is for sure. At least this question is gonna come maybe twice.
Yeah.
I have seen this question multiple times.
Definitely, you have some question about choosing the right storage case for a bucket. The question are generally, yes, we have an audit security team who wants to have an access to your bucket, who is dedicated to archiving some logs,
Yeah.
patati patata, and yes.
Yeah, before I forget. So standard is for 30 days, and the next one is for 60 or 90? No, 60.
Yep.
And then 90. But they're gonna say a company wants to keep for few months. Now it's up to you now. Look, now you figure out it's month, 60 days or 90. But then I think most of the time it's gonna go to 90 days.
Yep.
Towards few months. But it's always tricky when they say just for few months. I will try to find a question like that, but that one I have seen in the exam.
Yeah, for sure. This is a type of question.
Like 30 days or 60, right? I have the answers.
Yeah.
And most we might get confused in the exam about the classes, which is code line, which is middle line. Like which one is 30 days, which one is 60 days, which one is 90 days.
Yeah.
Archive is not for 365 days.
Yeah.
Right?
Archive questions are just more, okay, you are on premise, you want to move to the cloud, and the first move is just to take a whole server with many petabytes or terabytes of archive. You want to minimize the cost. What is the storage class that you need to implement to archive those files that are not used more than once a year? Archive.
Backup files.
Yeah, backup files generally are, yes, totally.
Question, you just mentioned recently the evidence
Auto class.
auto
Class.
Yeah.
So automatically it will move data to that class.
No, he's saying he stated the machine learning algorithm.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. What is it called? And if it's possible to, like, the machine learning is coming from the GCP itself, or I'm able to manipulate it like in a setting?
No, this is GCP way of handling this information. Basically, each time that you are creating a file, moving a file, deleting a file, there is a log, okay? Not a log with critical and confidential information, but logs about the behavior of your bucket. And GCP, based on those logs, it just is just.
My point is, even with lifecycle management for the storage, sometimes it becomes costly because let's say if there is one of the objects that I'm storing for archive because I'm not using in the middle of the year. However, there are few seasons, for example, if we're talking about the Christmas season or Black Friday season.
Yeah.
These are special seasons where actually the objects that in the archive I need it right now. So if I keep it in the archive, like retrieving, I believe retrieving from archive is more costly than.
Definitely, definitely.
So the point is the machine learning is able to learn and adapt well at Black Friday.
This is a good question. Really, this is a good question. To be, yeah. I didn't try it, but
Is it has a name?
we're gonna just. I want to see one stuff. Autoclass automatically transition each object to standard or nearline class based on object level activity to optimize for cost and latency. So we are just talking about standard to nearline, just to minimize the fact and your use case basically. They don't want to move automatically to archive or code line because they know for sure that if you need to have an access for that, you're going to pay a lot to retrieve this object within code line or archive. Recommended if usage frequency may be unpredictable, can be changed to a default class at any time. So I need to deep dive. But yes, this is really, really, really new. This is a new feature.
It's awesome. I mean, like this has,
Yeah,
it's able to adapt and learn through the year is awesome.
it's pretty cool. But definitely, I I need to deep dive inside the documentation, but I don't think for your use case we are talking about peak season, for example, Black Friday, Cyber Mondays. If you have a dedicated period of time where the behavior of your bucket is totally not the current one than the basic usage of 19% of the year. And if you can just schedule a period where you tell GCP, you know what, don't touch anything, I'm going to handle that manually. This is a good question.
Yeah, I believe like you create a bucket, you are in standard. If you don't touch for next 30 days, it moves to nearline.
Yeah, yeah.
Touch again, it will come back to standard.
Yeah, but
if you don't touch for 30 days, it goes back to the nearline.
yeah.
That's what I mean.
For sure, this is the mechanisms that they are putting in place inside your bucket. But the question was more related to one period of time during the year and the behavior is not the same that 90% of the year. So basically, this is not just the basic usage.
And it's not easy because you will need several years to make understand that during this period there is this specific.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times they are handling this algorithm for you. So this is a good question.
Yeah, it should be alone. My idea is, let's say, last year, Black Friday, I have a list of customers that have done shopping in the Cyber Monday. And usually for big companies, this data set is huge. So if I keep it in live storage, let's say for 30 days, that's going to be a little bit costly. However, if I wanted to archive it for the next Black Friday for marketing purposes in advance before the date. So I want the machine learning in advance to, try and
Yeah.
set it to basically the normal standard storage a week ahead. So once I create it, it doesn't cost that much. However, for life cycle management, it's not gonna do until I request it. So that's the issue. And even if I request it, life cycle is going to shift it to the standard. And let's say the Cyber Monday and the Black Friday is only 3-4 days. I don't want to keep it in 25 days.
Yeah.
And that's the idea of machine learning. I assume is going to adapt and learn within this like, okay,
Yeah.
you don't use it for 10 days.
But what is the time period that they can just that they are using to the famous object level activity? I don't think they are handling 1 year of period of your bucket.
Well, also
Depending the size of the bucket and the number of objects can be huge in terms of event. So
Honestly, if I may, I think AWS got the same service called S3 Intuition Turing. And what they do is that they will just simply rely, as soon as you upload a bucket, or like create a bucket, it will automatically have it put in, say, the rapid or the standard. It would start there. And as soon,
You don't touch for some days.
yeah, as soon as they see that probably you wouldn't touch it for 30 days, it will then move. They'll probably make it on the rapid one at first, because the initial reflex would be for you to have access to it as fast as possible.
For sure.
As expensive as possible. So you start rapid, then after 30 days time slot, you'll move back to the standard, and then going forward up onto the archive. But as soon as you touch it again, it will be just leveled up to one tier, upper hand. So if it's on cold line by now, you touch it again, you will move back to the near line. If you touch it again, it will move back to standard. But if you don't touch it again, it will move back to archive. So
yeah, I think this is good.
there's no complex AI model behind it. It's just
No, I don't think so, but
It is
touch is
when
the-
you touch it, when last time you try to access it, there's no, as you said, there's a log for everything. So
but
this question is
for your information, GCP is using at your organization level, for example, you can. GCP is providing us a bunch of functionality in terms of recommendation and insight, in terms of cost, performance, right sizing machine, and so on and so on. And all these recommendations, you can just export them inside a BigQuery dataset, for example. And with all those data, you can have a recommendation for your bucket. For example, those recommendations are telling you that, okay, this bucket ID with 1 terabyte of data, you are in a standard storage class. We don't see any movement on the 90 on the year. You have to move on archive for sure. You're going to win a lot of money. So yes, this is a project demo. I don't think I have some recommendation here, but yes, GCP is providing us those type of right sizing machine. Okay, so basically next week I just deploy a bunch of machine. Honestly, I forgot to delete them, so no CPU usage, no memory usage. So yes, I have a recommendation. Is telling me that yes, definitely, I need to. I can save this money per month if I'm switching my instance on a E2 small, for example, because I was using the E2 medium machine. So this is one kind of recommendation that we can have inside GCP. And yes, we can export it on BigQuery for sure. I have some recommendation basically. For sure, we have security information. So I was using the default service account with a bunch of EAM permissions and roles. So security recommendation is telling me that I can create a custom service account with more privileges. And yes, a bunch of recommendation. So yes, bucket. We have a lot of options inside the bucket. For information, if you don't know, just remember the different number of days that you need to reach your data. We didn't talk about that, but for each type of GCP services, you have access on the web on a GCP calculator. You can put a bunch of information, and GCP is telling you the cost of your bucket and the storage class that you need to use for your use case. Executing query to retrieve data from data instance. I didn't deploy a Cloud SQL instance, but yes, this is a SQL instance. So if you know MySQL, PostgreSQL, this is not this is familiar for you.
Very straightforward, and just give a name.
Yeah.
And which one you want, Postgres and MySQL, and there's one more. And
Microsoft SQL Server.
Yeah, and then you are
But-
in
yeah.
queries, and then you're done.
You don't have any question related to queries. I have a question just before the courses about, during the exam, do we have some tricky question on the different database type that we can use inside GCP? You just have to remember that there are different database services with different purpose, and the question will be just on the use case.
Yeah.
Okay? So basically, if we are talking about MySQL, Postgre, and Microsoft SQL Server, you have to remember that the managed service is Cloud SQL. If the question is related to the data warehouse and manipulating with a SQL request bunch of data for business intelligence, think about BigQuery. If we are talking about a multinational company that are doing some finance and bank, and they want an ACID transaction with a relational database, you're going to think about Spanner. If we want to do NoSQL, we have two flavors. We have the big table with a columnar database, but with a really high throughput dedicated to storing logs, IoT, telemetry, stuff like that. This is not a total managed service. You have to handle the number of partitions, server on each location. This is a tricky service to use, big table. Firestore is the NoSQL instance. Think about MongoDB.
Yeah.
Okay, They just raise a new feature with all the MongoDB operator who are available inside the Firestore. This is a huge feature because it was really a feature that all the community was requesting. And AlloyDB is just a flavor of Cloud SQL Postgre, dedicated Postgre databases. And this database is really cool because you can do some analytic stuff like within BigQuery, within Postgre. Okay, so it's a little, this is a Postgre, a managed Postgre. But yes, they are using the mechanisms inside BigQuery to just have the strong behavior inside dedicated for large data manipulation in terms of select. Yep.
There is a difference because Cloud SQL, it's three of them, right? Postgres, MySQL, and
Cloud SQL, Microsoft, yes.
And Alloy database is Postgres. So what's the difference if I order from Cloud SQL Postgres, or I will just use Alloy?
AlloyDB is for a use case that you need to have a relational database, but you also want to have the capabilities to handle some analytics use case. And for example, we are in a world of Gen AI. With AlloyDB, you can store your RAG system, for example. So if you want to ingest a little some documentation and just store in terms of vector databases, you can do that with AlloyDB. Okay? So AlloyDB, you don't have question on the exam because this is a niche product. So many.
BigQuery, Cloud SQL, Firestore, Spanner. These are the main ones.
Yep.
And we need to know when NoSQL and relational database we're going to use.
Yeah.
So we need, like there are a few things I'm forgetting. There's a acid rule, right? So if you need acid, like
if you want consistency, a relational database, you don't have the choice, finally.
yes, then which one you're going to use? And, are you going to use Firestore? No, we're not going to use Firestore for that. It's not.
Firestore is eventually consistent, like MongoDB. You don't have the atomicity of the transaction. If we are requesting in the same information but in different places in the world, we don't have the same information. So,
Yeah.
okay, but it's not dedicated to GCP. You have to do some theoretical stuff inside.
I just had a quick question. Is the
Yep.
exam really about use cases when the client is already on GCP, or is it just sometimes migrating from on-prem to GCP? Like how Cloud SQL would
Yep.
integrate with Oracle database?
This is a good question. I don't know especially for ACE, but yes, generally inside the GCP exam, you have some question regarding a fictive company who wants to migrate his on-premise data center to GCP. So you can have some question to just, and you have to be able to just compare the right solution inside GCP. And I told you before, guys, but GCP, like at AWS and Azure, but more GCP, I think, is really based on open sources services. GKE, Kubernetes, Hadoop, Dataproc. We don't talk about Dataproc, but this is the managed service to handle unstructured data transformation. Hadoop is a very famous solution, but it's a really costing solution. On-prem, Dataflow is based on Apache Beam to just transform and load your data. Bigtable is based on Apache HBase with the columnar database. And yes, Cloud SQL, except for Microsoft SQL Server, because we are talking about Microsoft, and I don't like really much Microsoft, but yeah, MySQL and Postgre are open sources solution.
Yeah, when we are migrate, they're going to be working like that. The company is going to migrate. So I think the knowledge they want in this certification is you know these services, what they do. they're not gonna go really deep into it. So if you know, well, let's go back to that example, Firestore and with the spanner, just need to know which one I need to use
Yeah.
in which scenario.
Yeah, spanner is usually when you have some kind of project, like if you're a multinational company.
Yeah. Spanner is global.
Spanner is global, right?
Yes.
Yes,
So
serverless,
Spanner,
horizontally scalable. You don't have to worry about the underlying infrastructure. Bank, finance, multinational, global.
so
That's the keyword that you need to understand to just choose the right selection. And for example, yes, Oracle, Spanner, okay? The famous database Oracle. If you want to move to Oracle because you have a critical database inside your company, and generally Oracle is for financial and banking solution, yes, Spanner is the right solution. But I don't know, I never take the ACE, but I'm used to, I have the professional certified architect solution. Generally, in the architect's exam, we have a bunch of questions on the migration path, with the good migration path. I don't think on the ACE
I
you
got
have.
those one in a data engineer one, that how you migrate the data.
Yeah,
I
because
have
on GCP you can have your, for example, if you have your database Postgre or MySQL inside your your on-premise data center, you can just do a VPN or a dedicated connection to be able to reach privately your VPC and your on-premise data center. And finally, there is a service inside GCP with database migration service.
Yes.
And you can just, with 2 clicks, do a read replica on GCP from your database on-premise, and just do the cutover with all the logical replication based on the transaction or stuff like that. There is a bunch of services inside GCP to just facilitate the migration.
But they're all for professionals.
Yeah, database migration service is not related to your use case. Yeah.
Right? So
So basically, you need to, yes, just know what type of databases I need to use. Yes,
to use that.
exactly.
Which when
Yeah. There is no question about doing index creation or material as view creation or tricky stuff dedicated to database administration. One thing who is really important, and it's not dedicated to databases, but yes, it's backup and restore. All these services have managed service to schedule daily backup. You can restore them in 1 click. You can restore them and creating directly another instance for your development purpose, for example. So this is those kind of features that you want when you are using managed service, backup, restore, and stuff like that. Cool. Alors, this one is a little bit tricky, but we want to implement a lifecycle rule that changes your storage type from standard to nearline after a specific date. What conditions should we use? Pick 2. Someone?
B and C.
I'd say E and A.
A and B, I would say C. Yeah, what? B and C.
Yeah. Created before the specific date and matches storage class equal standard. Age, I can't remember ages. Yes, age is specified by number of days, not a specific date. D, live, has to do with whether or not the object you are looking at is latest version. Last time we saw that creating a bucket, when we're creating a bucket, we can activate an option to make some object versioning, like a Git repository, finally. And this is a pretty cool usage, but use cases are really specific, finally. If you want to handle, for the same object, a bunch of versions. So we were talking about Terraform. For example, on GCP, you can store your Terraform.tf state inside a bucket, and you have to handle the versioning of this tf state file, because this is the state of your infrastructure as code. We can see that like a database, finally. And yes, if we are doing some wrong manipulation inside this TF state, it's very critical, and we need to just restore the old version of our TF state, for example. And number of newer version, I don't think, is based on object versioning also. So this one was a little bit tricky, but this slide is pretty cool. Cloud storage lifecycle action. So when we are deploying lifecycle action, we are talking about conditions that are applied to objects when they are meeting some conditions, yes, and we are doing an action. So age created before, custom type before, object, set storage class. Okay. VPC. I can't remember if we saw some VPC stuff last week. Yes? I told you about the different ways that we can handle VPC creation. We have the custom mode. We are choosing the IP range for each subnet that are regional. And the default mode is very bad in production, because when we are deploying a VPC with the default mode, we have for each GCP region, we have a dedicated subnet. We cannot choose the IP range. For a network administrator, it's very, very important to have the control of your IP management. We can just deploy a bunch of stuff inside the VPC. I'm going to share my screen with some creation action. We can for sure do some static external or internal IP reservation. It's really important. If we are deploying an external load balancer, I want to reserve my external IP, my public IP, because I want to do a DNS record, to just have a fixed IP with my DNS record, for example. We can do the same stuff inside a subnet to have a static internal IP and do a DNS based on this private IP. So basically inside GCP, we have Cloud DNS to manage DNS zone, who can be private or public. And we have a component who is Cloud NAT, who is just here to do some network address translation. So if I'm creating a VPC with a bunch of subnet, I can just talk with my private IP inside my VPC. But if I need to reach the internet to just install some package or contact some external API or stuff like that, I need a way to just be able to go to the internet. And Cloud NAT is the equipment that we need to deploy to just be able to have some internet access. Okay? So I'm going to share my screen. Oopsie. And I think I'm not going to create especially a VPC. I'm going to show you a bunch of resources related to the network. So here I have a custom VPC with 5 subnets. You can see that we are using the custom mode. Inside the subnet here, we can see that we have 3 subnets inside my GCP. The next screen was talking about 5 subnets. There is a bunch of different subnets inside the VPC. You don't have to know those kind of different flavor of subnet, because this is tricky and you don't have some question related to that. But those subnets who are standard subnet are just for your compute engine and GKE cluster. I was talking on the last session about the primary IP ranges and the secondary IP ranges. This is a feature which is especially used inside Kubernetes. The primary ranges are for your node, because in GKE we have some node who are executing your pods. Your pod needs to have also an IP range, and when you are deploying a service, after you have deployed your deployment, you need to have also a dedicated IP range for your service. Okay? So when we are talking about secondary IP ranges, GKE, but I'm sure you don't have those kind of questions inside in the exam. I have some basic rules here. So don't take into consideration those firewall rules with GKE.GKE. This is the firewall rules that Kubernetes and GKE is handling under the hood when you're creating your cluster. Okay? I don't create them manually. But yes, we have some firewall rules here. I just share my screen. I can create a firewall rules. Remember that we can create a firewall rules, activate the log. Firewall rules are dedicated to a VPC. You have to choose your VPC. You can do some priority inside your firewall rules. There is 2 directions of traffic: incoming, so ingress, or egress, to be able to reach out the destination. You can allow or deny your action. And yes, it was a little bit tricky, but I told you about network tag that you can put inside your compute engine, for example. We have also the service account, the famous service account that we can choose in terms of target or destination. And we can play with IP ranges like we do on-premise with basic network equipment, classic network equipment. So nothing special in terms of firewall. The stuff that we need to just see, it's the cloud NAT equipment. Without this equipment, when I'm creating a private instance inside my VPC, I don't have access to internet. So I need to create a cloud NAT gateway. And yes, this is a simple equipment with regional. So basically, if inside your VPC, you have a bunch of subnets in different regions, and you want to all these subnets have an internet access, you need to create a cloud NAT for each region. Okay?
Is the NAT tied to the instance or to the subnet?
Tied to the VPC and all the subnets inside the same region. If I have VPC is global, subnets are regional. So basically, if I create 10 subnets inside the Montreal region, I just can have one NAT gateway inside the region North America, Northeast 1. Okay? But if I have 10 subnets in Montreal and one subnet inside the US Central, and I want my virtual machine on US Central have an internet access, I need to create a cloud router in US Central. A cloud NAT gateway. But yes, when you are deploying a cloud NAT, you need a cloud router. Okay? But you don't have to remember this specific technical stuff.
How would I make sure that the instance that I want it to have access to the internet?
You are talking about routing, route selection.
Say for example, I've got my VPC,
Yeah.
my subnet, and then within my subnet I have 10 instances, for example, right?
Mhm.
Which are private, obviously. So I want this instance to have access to the internet. So I assume I have 10 NATs.
No.
And just allow one of them, like the one from instance to have access to the internet, or they can be routed.
Yeah. When we are this is a really a good question. It's a little bit advanced, but I think I need to show you that. So basically, when we are creating subnet inside our VPC, GCP is handling all the magical stuff around the routing. Okay, all the routes that you are seeing there is handled by default by GCP. Each time I create a subnet, GCP is creating a default route to be able to, for all the subnets, to know where is the path to reach my VM with in another subnet. Okay? So we are just talking about subnet internal. But this destination with basically the world outside, the default route, is created when I'm creating a cloud NAT. Okay? So basically this default route is telling for all the subnet inside my VPC that if you want to go to internet and reach the open world, I have a destination, I have this route, and the next hop is the default internet gateway with basically my cloud NAT. You don't have to touch the routes instance per instance or stuff like that. You can do that, but it's really complicated to handle, okay? So basically, in terms of routes, I generally do nothing inside my VPC. The only route creation I do, it's when I'm creating a VPN or partner interconnection. So basically interconnect my VPC and some colocation facility or another cloud provider, for example, to just be able to tell, for example, my on-premise data center, I just want that my subnet here can reach the data center on-premise and stuff like that.
So we have the NAT gateway and then we have the internet gateway.
Sorry?
We have the NAT gateway at the subnet level, and then we have the internet gateway at the maybe VPC versus the word.
But you know what, I want to add something here. So when you say we need NAT, we only need NAT because these ones are internal IP addresses.
Yeah.
So when you create any instance with the external IP address, you don't need NAT, right?
Yeah.
So these ones are only for the internal IP address. So all your instances are connected to one VPC, one or two, whatever you connect to, right?
Yeah.
So they have subnets.
I don't. Yeah, but can you repeat your question? I think it was more complicated.
Yeah.
Say the NAT gateway is at the subnet level within the VPC.
No, this is at the VPC level,
At the VPC level,
but it's regional.
it's regional, so it's usually created when I have subnets with instances in them, and I want some of the instances of all of them to have access to the internet.
Absolutely.
Right. And then there is the internet gateway.
This is Cloud NAT is the internet gateway.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is basically this word.
Internal translation.
The default internet gateway is
By default.
it's a common word when you are doing network administration. Okay, and here inside GCP, the default internet gateway, when I have created a Cloud NAT, is Cloud NAT. Not especially Cloud NAT, the cloud router just in front of the Cloud NAT. But yeah, think about Cloud NAT. Okay? Because if I want inside GCP, I can just deploy a VM router, for example, with handling all the traffic to the internet. We already saw that we can deploy a compute instance with a private network. So all my instances can go and reach this private IP inside, but I can also have a public IP. And if I am a big geek, I'm gonna just deploy a Linux, do some IP table stuff and activate the NAT inside my VM. And I can tell GCP with a custom route that to reach my destination 0.0.0 internet, You need to contact my private IP for my VM who is handling the network traffic. You can do that. But this is the little...
I think his first question was if we have 10 VMs.
Yeah.
Okay, and I need the first 5, you can go to the internet. The last 5, I don't want them to go to the internet.
So I can create a...
Question, right?
Okay, that was the question. Okay, to do so, you need to create a firewall rules.
Yeah, so
I create a firewall rules based on network type, disable internet,
you give it to this VMs.
and I'm doing a deny action on the egress traffic.
For each time. For each
No,
no.
just on a network tag.
Tag, and you give the tag to the VMs that you don't want them to go outside.
You want me to demonstrate that?
No. Like in that case, I need to have to know beforehand.
What's these network tags? Yeah, but if you
Yeah.
remember, you will only
We can tag
rating of the
Yeah.
But
you give them the network tag.
like, what if the use case is that each and every time the instances that I want them to have access to the internet, the rule changes. Like it's not a static rule. It's not like the first 5.
Yeah, that's why we are using network
That's why
tag.
you need the tag. It's the tag.
Okay.
The tag you can do it.
Just, I'm gonna do a quick example. Last time we were talking about an equipment, a service inside GCP with identity-aware proxy. This is a bastion managed by GCP to handle SSH tunneling to reach your instance inside your VPC with private. Okay? So GCP is telling us that, okay, if you want to manage your administrative access via SSH through this bastion, you need to create a firewall rule. And this firewall rule, with an ingress firewall rule, is allowing the traffic for all the compute instances that have a network tag with EAP-SSH. Okay? So, and those public IP are given from GCP. Those are the IP from the famous IAP bastion. Okay? So if I'm going through the console, am I creating an instance? In North America, okay, medium, disk, I don't want any backup. And okay, I'm gonna choose at the network, at the compute instance creation, I'm going to choose to do not put this network tag. Okay, I'm choosing the default VPC and the subnet available inside my region. I'm not going to have some external public IP. I'm using a default compute engine and so on and so on. I'm creating this instance. So this is a private IP. This is a private instance. I don't have any external connection on this instance. Cool. Here I can just see the gcloud command line with telling us that I want to do some gcloud command, compute, SSH. We are talking about compute engine with zonal services. I need to specify the zone inside the region where my instance is running, the name of my instance, and I'm sending this flag with really important. I want to use EAP to just handle the SSH connection. So cool. I'm going to try it. And definitely it's not going to work. I don't have my network tag. I don't have external connection. I'm going to have a timeout. But if I go there, I'm editing my machine, and I do EAP.SSH, blah, 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 blah. Yep. Yeah, sorry. It was a timeout. Failed to connect port 22. So basically, jcloud is telling us that, yes, some command to investigate and troubleshoot your tunnel, for example. Okay, so the instance is saved with the good EAP network tag. Cool, it's working. So for your use case, you just have to have some good network engineer that are documenting all the network tag inside your company and telling you that, okay, you don't want this instance to have access to internet, just we have implemented a deny egress firewall rules with a big priority to just avoid your instance to reach the internet. Put this network tag inside your instance.
Tagging in the future is for free, like is included.
Firewall rules standard are free. A VPC is free, subnet are free. The only thing that you pay inside GCP, this is the traffic between region, zone. But it's not dedicated to GCP. Every cloud provider is taking your money with egress fees. This is definitely not GCP specialty. AWS is the same. Stay inside your region. That's But yes, this is the way that we are handling dynamic firewall rules. But we cannot, yes, play with. No, my pleasure. I'm not gonna forget to remove my compute. Cool. Cloud DNS. I can show you some stuff. Cloud DNS. Everything on DNS is based on a zone. The zone can be private or public. So the private one is the first zone that you are creating inside your VPC, but you can handle also a public one. You can do whatever you want in terms of internal name. So basically, this is the name here. Up. Name must be lowercase.
No space. No space. It will be.
Thanks, guys. A description, private. We can do a bunch of options. So many options. We don't cover that. Honestly, you don't have any question about cloud DNS inside DAs. Okay?
I haven't touched DNS.
Exactly. Only thing that you need to understand that when I'm creating a DNS zone, I need to select a VPC to be able to just query my DNS zone. Okay? And after I creating a zone, I can create some record inside my zone, a record, CNAME, whatever the kind of record. This is network related stuff and a little bit advanced. Cool. Wow, this one is tricky. If you know this, the answer. No, this one is really tricky. You have to know IP calc on your head. If you have the answer, I don't know if you have those kind of questions. This is really tricky. So we have a subnet. We can expand subnet inside GCP. For example, this is the use case of we have a /24 IP space. And yes, this is not enough for 2,000 users of device. So with one gcloud command, we can expand our subnet to be able to have more capacity in terms of device. So you need to know about the fact that /24 is around how many IP address, and to fit 2,000 users, what is the prefix length that you need to implement? Yo, sorry. Any people here that are sure? Even I don't know. Yeah, prefix length 21. I think 21 is about 2046 address.
Which one?
But 20 should work as well, no?
Sorry? This one?
20, not
Yes, but this is too huge.
Way more.
I think 20 is more about 4,000 and yeah, 4,094. And this one is yes. I don't know if you have those kind of questions, but because those questions are really tricky. I have those questions when I passed the network engineer certification, but no, this one is but the fact is, you need to understand that we can expand the subnet. You cannot shrink, but you can expand. This is a pretty cool feature. Cool, we can expand IP address in a subnet. So yes, basic understanding of VPC is pretty cool, but the major stuff that you need to understand is the VPC is global, the subnet are regionals, and the subnet is spanning the 3 zones inside my region. This is a pretty cool stuff compared to AWS, for example. This is not the case. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know, but I think this is not the case. Global VPC is really dedicated to GCP. Azure and AWS are not talking about VPC with regional. But yes, VPC global, subnet regional, and finally, VPC is the only thing that is global because each resources, Cloud NAT, Cloud Router, are regional too. Cool. Oh, monitoring and logging. This is I think you have some question related to that. Cool. We don't see that actually, but yes, we have a service inside GCP with Cloud Operation. Cloud Operation is providing us a bunch of services. We can have we have access for a bunch of custom metrics. For example, we can reach the log when I'm creating a compute instance. I think we already saw that, but I can install an ops agent inside my VM. This agent is just sending all the metrics and the logs of my virtual machine to be able to log Explorer. So yes, we have a bunch of services. I'm going to share my screen. It's more cool. So cloud operation, we are talking about logging, monitoring, and stuff like that. Okay. Nope. So GCP is providing us a bunch of dashboards that are made out of the box, depending the service that you are deploying inside your GCP project. So here we can just guess the services that I was using inside my project. We are talking about Cloud DNS, Firewall. This is my GCP project. This one is dedicated to my network resources. I'm going to just go to my other GCP service. So yeah, definitely this is not the same dashboard that are here. In this project, I was deploying a bunch of Kubernetes cluster. I was using Gemini, also GenAI. We can see that I have already deployed a bunch of cloud storage. So I have a bunch of dashboards that are just made by GCP. I can add more dashboard, do some custom dashboard. And this is, yes, a good way to have some monitoring inside your application. So this one is a new feature. And more important here to debug your application is the Log Explorer. So inside this console, we have an access for all the logs and all the action and different type of event inside your GCP project. We are talking about audit log, data logs, who have an access, who access this file on this bucket, for example, who was connecting via SSH inside my compute engine, because this is an admin activity. So we have a bunch of types of logs and event that we can just filter with a bunch of boxes here. So we can see all the service that I was using inside GCP, inside this project. This is not this is a tricky part, Log Explorer, because everything is a JSON object finally. So yes, you can see an example of one entry log. Yes, this is a little bit tricky.
What's the name of the service?
Log Explorer. Yeah.
Under logging.
And yes, cloud logging, exactly. So yes, this is basically this web console that you are reaching when you have a trouble and you need to debug finally. Okay, but
But one thing that I can give you, because I recently are using a lot with interacting with Kubernetes, and it integrates a lot of, even at pod level of Kubernetes using GKE. So the one cool feature that you can use is search for fields, the first one on the top, a little bit of,
All resources you have.
no, to the right, top right. In the middle.
Easy.
who's ça?
In the middle. Search all fields.
Yeah.
And then I put, let's say that you have a pod that runs a microservice and it calls, for example, web app one. You put that and it's going to filter everything, including from the pod GPE, VPC. So that is a great kind of way to start filtering logs to, that are related to your object. And then you can go inside of each entry, depending what you want to troubleshoot. But that is a good tip that I can give.
I have a question. What if I want to limit the access of logs for certain services or certain access methods? For instance, it's like I want a manager who's dealing with, let's say, networking services. I want to show him only the logs for networking services. I want him to access another.
Inside the same GCP project?
Well, right now what you show me is like the log explorer is showing everything, right?
Absolutely.
So we talk about within the same project. I want to separate things out.
Okay.
Limiting the access.
You can do that with some general mind tricks stuff. But yes, you can do that. The more important, I'm going to show you that. Basically, GCP, each time you are creating a GCP project, GCP under the hood is creating two buckets dedicated to your logs. Okay? Those two ones, the default one and the required. Okay? The required is dedicated to the system event, the audit log, some critical information inside your project, and the default one, the default bucket, is just for all the other logs, your application log or stuff like that. If you want to do your use case, you need to go there and edit your log bucket. No, this is not here. Log router, sorry. So basically, I saw log storage was the log bucket where all the entries are located. And we can see also here that we have two things, log router things. The default one is the require one. And if you want to do your special tricks, you need to edit the thing. And here, exclude the log that you don't want inside your project, or the critical ones, for example, and create in another project another log router from this project to send the log in another project. We cannot, at the project level, do some separation and segregation of duties inside in terms of log scope, finally.
Since it's going to create two buckets, is it possible to go in the access management and
Not for this bucket. The only stuff that I can do based on EM, roles and permission, it's at the project level to just be able to give an access on log, to be able to administer the logs, view the logs and stuff like that. So for your use case, if I have different kind of peoples who have an access on the same GCP project, and I want to handle a segregation of duty in terms of log selection and log viewing, you cannot do that inside a same GCP project. You can just move and exclude some stuff inside the project and reroute them in another project and give just the access for the critical logs, but you cannot do what you want inside one GCP project.
Yeah, because the Alien tools for the oriented logs is like very limited. It's like a keyword that you can do all sort of or nothing. That's why the best practice even is to do a route sync to a centralized project, and even from the logs probably do export into BigQuery, and then in BigQuery then you can go and create access at table level. In that way, you will even
Cool.
access. You remove all the IAM permissions for the project login, and then you enable the team to get access to a BigQuery tables, particularly to their own kind of emphasis, for example, networking or computing.
That's smart move, I would
You-
say. Well, my question is because of security. Some company have to comply for some security things.
For sure.
For some, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why it's like sometimes they come up with requirement that doesn't make any sense. They're just like, yeah, this requirement is only accessing these slots. That's it. But yeah, this move would be a good idea.
But yes, on GCP, the stuff that are generally pushed by the cloud provider is when you have an organization, go at the top of your organization, so at the organization root node, and then enable some export, so the thing that I was sharing with you guys, and just implement the a dedicated BigQuery dataset, for example, but it's costing a lot to query those kind of datasets because you have a petabyte of data. It's not good. You can export to a bucket in archive, for example, all your audit log. And yes, this is a good way to do so. But in terms of a security team who have strong concern about be able to have an access for critical logs, we are just playing on the log that we need to exclude from the default sync that as GCP is providing us. And another question that you can have also, maybe, just to finish before the lunch, those two buckets have a retention period, okay? So the famous required with the security one, yes, 400 days. And the default is just 13 days. So I don't know if you have some questions. So in this project who is very critical, we have some log inside the default log bucket, but the security teams want to have 90 days of retention. Do you need to take an action to do so? Yes.
The question is a little bit different for if your company want to give access to somebody outside who want to audit the logs, like for compliance,
Yeah.
they want to look, they're not your organization, they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Well, which IAM role you will give to them. So that kind of question is one.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
this auditor.
That's actually one of the one I asked, yes, similar to things.
But I know your question is really interesting. You know, I'm going to look for that. because-
Yeah, this is
Because
simple.
I cannot give log access to my logs
Exactly.
to everyone because it's security, right?
Yeah, my
Yeah.
idea
But
is
can't we create like log views in the log storage?
Yeah, if you go log storage, log view, and
There is
then
log
you filter.
views.
Yeah, I think you can. Yes, you can do that.
You filter and then
But I don't know if we have some list privilege.
storage.
Sorry.
Log storage, you create a new view.
Log storage. Log storage.
But the thing is, who is
Hmm.
getting access?
No.
It's not about it's like as explained, it was is first we need to do a route seek. You need to identify what kind of logs you want to choose a pocket to do the routing.
No. I.
So
No, with the view you can create.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here I can exactly. I can play with a log view. But I just can filter on the default. Just the default one. But yes, but I cannot. I don't have the list privilege. The log views is just to be able to quickly have some filters or view dedicated to one bucket log and one specific entry of type of log that I want. I don't have the. I think.
I think next step would be go to the IAM console, select the user that you want them to not have access to that, and then
and not
connect that log you designated now, the filtered log, to that person.
I need to deep dive a little bit more, but I think definitely this is not the case because when you are interacting with the EAM inside GCP, inside your project, when I'm going to EAM here, if I'm grant an access here, this is at the project level. Okay? But under the project, we have resources. And finally, your use case is just to have a view of certain log and a specific access for this view. If I'm doing an action here to just put a principal and a role, this is for all the project. Okay? If I put myself here and I give him a role of something, so logging admin, log writer, log view access. Oh,
Yeah, this one.
oh.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, come on, guys. Do the formation for me. Cool. Okay. How it work?
that's what I was
Okay.
we go to IAM and
Wow.
like that.
And you just
But
have
now-
to add the role. And
Okay, so I was there. Log view. Okay, apply. Cool. But how can I manage my log view? You know what? Florian is testing me because we need to have some food, guys. But in the meantime, I'm gonna check this log view. Let's go have some food.
Thank you, Ben.
Log view, just an example of something with named alerting. There is a question in a few moments about alerting, but just to show you how we can just manage some alerting, it's very important to observe your system and be able to have the right alerting system in place when you have some troubleshooting and just to be able to have the good signals of your application. So here I am in the notification channel. We can set a bunch of notification type, SMS, PubSub. We can route the alert inside the PubSub topic, and do a cloud function to handle with your custom development logic the way you want to handle your alert. We can have some webhook, Slack, PagerDuty, if you know this service. And just for information, you also have an application inside your telephone with a Cloud Mobile application, and you can set up a notification inside your mobile device. This is the notification that I have implemented. And if I switch to this project, yes. So the alerting is pretty straightforward. It's just about creating a policy based on a metric. For example, if I want to just be alerted on the CPU usage for my compute instance, I can select a bunch of metrics that GCP is providing for us on all their services. I can add just some filter to just filter on the resource label, for example, or a dedicated alert for one compute engine who is very critical, the zone or stuff like that. Hop, là. I configure the trigger. And for example, we are looking for CPU that are using more than 16% of CPU usage. And after that, I can choose my notification channel. I can set a bunch of stuff inside this alerting. I can do a quick documentation here. Really important to document your alert. Just put some Confluence documentation to how to troubleshoot those kind of alerts if your PagerDuty is ringing and wake up at 2 a.m. And yes, this is pretty straightforward, just an example, but it's really important to understand that, yes, we have some metrics, we have some logs. We can define alerting policing to just be able to have a real-time notification based on your alerting policy. So if I go back to the side, yes, all these stuff are pretty important. We have also inside GCP an access to the health status page within GCP because we are using their service. Sometimes, you know, CSP are struggling with their own infrastructure. It's not all the time for sure, but it's really important to be able to have those kind of notification if any GCP service is going down, for example, or has some outage, because sometimes you have an alert on your system, you are going through to troubleshoot your own system, and you see 13 minutes after that GCP is having an outage, a massive outage, inside your region and inside Google Compute Engine, for example. And if you have those kind of situations, so do just multi-cloud or hybrid cloud computing, because yes, sometimes the CSP have some troubles also inside their own infrastructure. The Ops agent is pretty cool. You just install the Ops agent inside your machine. All the metrics, CPU, RAM, disk usage is going through a cloud operation suite. This is pretty cool because you also have the capabilities to send all the logs for the default middleware that we all know: Apache, Tomcat, MongoDB, Postgre, MySQL. This Ops agent is just watching under your /var/logs and see all the collection of logs that you have. And for the basic service that we all know, they are already sending all the log inside GCP. That's pretty cool. If you have a custom application, you need to tell this agent to watch under /varlog/mycustomapplication stars.log, and this agent is sending all the log inside GCP. Okay? This is a question that I already have inside the GCP exam. The famous custom application. Does the Cloud Ops agent is sending, without doing anything, my custom.log files inside Log Explorer? Nope. I need to custom the Cloud Ops agent to be able to send my custom logs. And you can have the same question about, yes, we have Apache, we have the access log under /var log Apache blah blah blah. Do we need to do something, or are the log already inside the GCP log explorer? So the answer is yes for Apache.
They might ask the best way to monitor the compute system.
Yeah.
Compute engine. So how you connect with monitoring and logging? So you select the option with the off agent.
Exactly.
Has to install.
It's really
One, we just need to know this service exists, and we do check mark it, and that is the best way. As per the Google recommendation, we need to have this installed.
true. There is a new way to manage your all the metrics and all the logs. There is a managed service from Prometheus. People that know a little bit of Kubernetes are maybe using Prometheus Grafana to just handle all the behavior of your Kubernetes cluster and application. So yes, basically you can use the PromQL language inside Log Explorer to do some query based on the log that GCP is providing us. A new technology, a new way of doing that is OpenTelemetry. This is a new way to observe your platform in terms of metrics, logs, and trace, stack trace. This is a new standard, and this is available inside GCP. You just have to enable the OpenTelemetry for all the logs, and you have this standard available inside your GCP project. This is a pretty cool feature. A diagnostic question. So the supply chain management system has been deployed and works as well. It was the managed instance group based on compute instance. You are tasked with monitoring the system resources. We want to ensure the CPU usage of each compute engine instance in US Central 1 remains below 16%. You want an incident created if exceeded this value for 5 minutes. Someone?
The last one?
The D1? You know the difference between the CPU load and CPU utilization, guys? CPU load is dedicated to processes inside Linux especially, so this is different of the CPU utilization. CPU load is very, you cannot do some alerting on CPU load. It's tricky to manage alerting on CPU load. You can have a big load and not so many CPU utilization in terms of time windowing. It's very, very, very tricky. Unless you have a dedicated process that you need to monitor. And yes, condition is above, and any time the series violates. That's the difference. Here we have below. This is the wrong word to use. CPU load was wrong, and all time series violates, we need to check this value for 5 minutes. So we are windowing the time for 5 minutes. So Cloud Operation Custom Alert, we need to define the condition based on resource metric, the threshold, and the famous notification channel to just send a message on PubSub, an email, a Slack, MS Teams, PagerDuty. And yes, really important to do some documentation on each alert that you are creating. If someone is wake up because you have created an alert and the guy don't know what you are talking about, he's gonna hate you definitely. Especially during the night.
Actually, I have a question for
Yeah.
that documentation. Can you access some values of some parameters?
Yes, you have some metadata available. You can grab a lot of information, the resource type, the resource name, the region, the zone. If we are talking about a pod alert, you can grab the pod name, the namespace name. Depending on the resource that you are based on your alert, you can have access directly for a bunch of variables dedicated for each GCP services.
So the box was just a text box. Like,
This is a text box in MD format, but generally you can just add your HTTP link for your Confluence document exploitation or stuff like that. But yes, you have an access for a bunch of metadata and the information inside your log information with basically a JSON file.
but it would not be through that text box. It would be through another.
No, you have to fill it inside your documentation box and play with the variables that you can play with depending on the service that you are using inside your alert. So basically it's $, resource name or stuff like that. GCP has a dedicated documentation for all the service that you can use and all the attributes on the service that you are using for your alerting. What GKey object implement an application load balancer? We thought that last week. This is an easy question. You have the answer. I don't want to ask you the answer. Someone? Load balancer facing public. So pod is the basic unit of your computer workload. Deployment is the way to handle a replica set of your application. The service is just exposing inside Kubernetes your endpoint of your deployment. So the answer is B?
Pod?
No.
The service itself?
Ingress. Sorry.
But that is a great question because you know a service you calculate a load balancing, but the keyword is application load balancing.
Level 7.
Level 7.
The service is not a load balancer. Inside Kubernetes, a service is definitely not a load balancer. Everyone is thinking about a load balancer because yes, we have our deployment with 3 pods, and the service is just an object to discover dynamically the number of replica that your deployment is setting in for your pods. So a service can be a load balancer effectively. This is a tricky question, but yes, the way that GKey and GCP is providing us an application load balancer, it can be external or internal, to expose your GKey service is an ingress. So basically we have here a deployment. The name is Symbol Web, sorry. We have some specification. We want 20 replica, so 20 pods. We have a bunch of parameters who are a little bit tricky, but the deployment is here. So this is the object that was going to deploy 20 replica of my application, so 20 pods. I have a service here to just expose and discover all the pods behind my deployment. But the service type is cluster IP. So this is internal for the cluster from a cluster perspective, sorry. And after that, I have an ingress who is referencing my service with Symbol Web. And this is the object with this annotation who's going to trigger the deployment of the application load balancer. This is a tricky question, but yeah, important question in terms of Kubernetes knowledge. Cool. Which Cloud Run autoscaling setting should you set if you want to limit your cost? CPU usage, utilization, concurrency settings, max instance, min instance. Yeah. Min instance. Min instance is just to be able to scale down to 0. You can put your 0. If you put 1, you avoid the cold start. All the cloud providers are talking about the cold start. Yes, we need to wake up your service because it's scaled down to 0. But yes, definitely max instance. If you don't want to scale to 1,000 instance and explode your bill, it's cool to set your max instance if you want to limit the cost. Cool. We just finished the last module from last week. And we're going to finish with a little demo on EM. So, I'm talking a lot about service account. So basically, these are some identity who are not human. And those kind of identity can be put inside each GCP service that you are running. Okay? So I'm going to create a service account. To just have a quick demo. SAC demo ACE 05. So I put a name, I put a description. I'm creating a service account. First stuff that I need to provide. Do this service account need some EM role on your project? Okay? I don't want any role at the moment. Second one is who can play with this service account? What are the users that can impersonate and use the service account in terms of authentication mechanisms? That's pretty cool because if you want to debug some access roles dedicated to a service account, if I put my name inside the service account user role, I can substitute myself, Benjamin, to just use the GCP identity of the service account. And I have the same scope for this service account. Okay? And service account admin is just, yes, an admin can just add some role, add some service account user role for this service account, just more privilege inside for this service account. So I'm just creating a service account with no roles. I'm going to create a compute engine. OK. Montreal, Debian, no backup. I'm going to just use my network tag to be able to SSH inside my machine. A network inside my VPC. I'm going to use this one. I don't want an external IP address. Install Ops Agent for monitoring and logging. Hyper important. I'm not going to use the service account that GCP is providing us from scratch for each project with a compute engine default service account. This is definitely not a good use case in production. I'm going to use the ACE demo 05. We don't have any EM permission for the moment. I'm going to create this VM. In the meantime, I'm going to show you that I have a bunch of buckets inside my project. And for this compute instance, and my application is have a need, it needs to have access on all the objects inside the BCDemo ACE 0003 bucket. I think here we have one CSV file. And yes, my compute engine, to do its job, needs to read these bucket files. So I'm coming back to compute engine. The VM is running. I'm going to take the gcloud command line. I'm inside the VM. If I type this command, gcloud hotlist, I'm seeing the service account with put inside my VM, with used by my VM. This is the famous service account I just created just before creating the compute instance. So I need to reach this bucket. Can't remember the name of the bucket. Okay. So here I can type the command gcloud storage ls and the bucket name. gcloud storage ls, my service account does not have the permission to access this bucket, and we are seeing that we are missing a permission. We don't have this permission actually to list the object inside my bucket. That's normal. I created a service account. I didn't put any rules for this service account. So basically, I can do nothing with this service account. I'm not able to authenticate this service account and be authorized by the EAM to just do some stuff with all the GCP services. So if I go here and I at the level of my bucket, I'm not inside the EM page for the project and for all the bucket. I can just put some permission for my service account. What's the name of this service account? Can't remember, sorry. Yeah. I'm hiding the principal. And I want that this service account can just access the object with the viewer role. Cool. I can have my access on this bucket for my object. If I'm doing the RM command, no, I'm object viewer. I'm not object admin. I cannot remove it.
For the last action, remove, is it mentioned in the login? Is not mentioned in the login?
It,
If we have login.
if we have logging,
Yeah. In the login instruction.
oh, every action here is inside Log Explorer. Definitely, I have the method that was trying to use was storage object remove, delete, sorry, dot delete. And yes, definitely, if I go on my on Log Explorer, I can see this action. You know what? I'm gonna just fill the name. Nope. Oopsie. So here we can see, so the list action was okay here. Cloud storage list my famous bucket. Here we can see that my principal Benjamin was setting EM permission. So basically we see all the action inside a GCP project in terms of admin activity. And yes, we can see also a very good entry log here. We can see that this project, this service account, wow. The principal email is my service account. It's trying to create a time series inside Log Explorer. But remember, the service account just have one role. It's just able to read the object. So if I go to my service account here, and I need to do that at the project level, best practice to be able with the minimal privileges and permission is to give my service account for my compute engine the good right to be able to write the metrics and send the logs dedicated to Cloud Ops agent, okay? Even if you don't need to play with some other Google services like the bucket, we need to have two basic roles with logging writer and monitoring metric writer. Basically, each time I create a service account inside GCP, this is the two roles that I give to each service account that I'm creating, because I need to write some logs and to write some metrics, okay? If you don't do that, first, it's messy, you have a bunch of errors, and second, you cannot debug your application, and you cannot have some metric inside your project. Okay? So yes, we just created a service account, put some details inside your service account. We manage the permission, and this is an example to just be able to use Cloud SQL, so Cloud SQL instance user. Add to a VM patati. I do that with the Cloud Storage. It was a little bit more easier than Cloud SQL. Cool. So don't forget that inside your GCP project, when you are looking for EAM, it's on the project level. You can give access to nominative user. Definitely not a good practice. Put user in a group and give a group a role. This is the best practice. If you are creating a service account, try to give the access at the resource level. Don't give access at the project level. Sometimes you don't have the choice, but if you can just give the least privilege access, this is better. And I was playing with EAM roles, there is 3 types of roles inside GCP. The basic roles, editor, owner, viewer. Each roles have 5,000 of permissions. Definitely not a good practice in production. We have predefined role. That was the role that I was using. Storage object viewer, storage object admin, compute instance viewer, compute instance admin, network user, network admin, blah, blah, blah. So par service of, par type of service or GCP service, you have a bunch of predefined roles. And cherry on the cake, but it's really tricky to manage them. You can do some custom role. So you can cherry pick 2 permissions of this role plus 3 permissions on this role and just maintain your custom role with your custom bunch of permission. And sometimes you have to do that because your company is a very secure company and wants absolutely to have the least privilege in place. But definitely do not use basic except for a sandbox or a proof of concept. Use predefined. This is a better way to manage it. And yes, if you need to, we can create some custom roles. So question, we need to configure access to Spanner from the GKE cluster that is supporting Symbol e-commerce microservice application. You want to specify an account type to set the proper permission. So assign permission to a Google account referenced by the application. Assign permission through a Google Workspace account referenced by the application. Assign permission through service account referenced by the application. Or assign permission through a cloud identity account referenced by the application. I think you have the answer, guys. Yeah. Cool. Google account, Gmail, not cool, definitely. We don't want that in production for sure. If you have an organization, we can set an organization policy to avoid those kind of EM binding. Assigning someone on, assigning a Google account, a gmail.com account inside your GCP project is not a good choice. Service account, I just show you the purpose of the service account. Best practice, sorry. Google Group and the Cloud Identity or Google Workspace domain. This is the best practice. This is the way that we are handling professionally all the identity in terms of user in group. Think about Active Directory, but dedicated to GCP. Okay? Google Workspace is the suite. It's a mix of Office 365 and Active Directory stuff. So user management, group management. You can activate the way that in your company you can use Gmail, you can use YouTube, you can use I deploy automatically those bookmarks inside your Google Chrome Navigator or stuff like that, okay? We are trying to assign role to the dev and prod project, but are receiving when you try to set EM policy. Wow. Yes, we can eliminate some bad answer. Organization admin, bam, top level. We don't need these roles and those permissions. We need to manage at least the project at the top a folder. EM security role in EM. Nah. This one is not cool because this is not really, we don't have any information. At what level we need to put this role? We don't know. We don't have the answer. This one is fucked up. So, so basically, we are talking about project and folder because the question is telling us that we want to put some EM policy inside some projects inside a folder. So we are talking a folder or project. And we want to respect the practice of least privilege. So
I have a project just because it's least privilege.
It's too much to do in every project.
Yeah.
It's too much.
no, because we want to assign roles to the dev and the prod project.
Yeah, normally add your folder, but I give it a
Yeah, sorry.
list, I thought.
It was a trick. A little, yes. No, this one is a little bit tricky, but yes, we want to assign role. It appears that in this organization, I need to be able at the folder level, the e-commerce folder, to just give an access on prod and dev project. It doesn't mean that I can I cannot apply the least privilege at the project level, but at least I can do that on the folder, yes. I think those kind of questions
One,
can happen.
yes, one or two.
Cool. So yes, we can assign a role in the EM interface. So we have a custom role implemented for administration of the dev test environment. Mm-hmm. Okay. Are we creating a new custom role? Are we do some tricky stuff to copying the existing one, add the new permission to the copy, delete the old role, delete the custom role and recreate a new custom role with the required permission? Or make the change directly to the custom role and update the custom role? Keep it simple, guys. D? Other option? No.
It's a POC. I shouldn't change my stuff. You're kidding.
I think it, no, I know definitely this is the best practice. Because I'm just going to show you how we can create a custom role.
But when they say you change it locally, what does it mean?
That's a good question. Honestly, I bypass this information. I totally bypass it. I just remind that you want to make an update on the existing custom role and add a few permissions inside and update it. I don't know what it means by locally. This is fucked up. But definitely copy the old one, recreate a new one, doing a... No. The other option was not efficient for me. So basically, when you are creating a custom role, you give it a name, you give it a launch stage, which is very important. This is a custom role with GA, beta, alpha, disable, or whatever. And after that, you can just add one of the, I don't remember. Okay, this is the number of permission available inside GCP. Definitely, there is a bunch of permission, but yes, you can go just to tick this one and looking for another one and patati and patata. So yes, create a custom role. It's on the project level. It was, if the question was telling us that this custom role is created at the organization level and can have a multiple impact because a bunch of projects under the organization are using this custom role, yeah, we can just create a new custom role and remove the old one and apply the new one. But custom role was created at the project level, so. Administer custom role this is really painful. But yes, sometimes you have to manage those kind of role.
Because you assign permissions to the role.
Sorry. But yes.
And basically that custom role can have some entities attached or users. So imagine that you have to create the role, do a lot. It's just modify the permissions for the custom role.
But yes, I don't know why they are talking about. You get the current. Oh, okay, I understand. Okay, I can explain the custom role locally. With the jcloud command, you can just generate the YAML to have your EAM policy. So with the gcloud command, you can just generate a YAML that you can download on your local machine. Just edit the YAML and add manually a permission. And after that, you can, like a kubectl apply command, you can apply it with the jcloud command. Terraform. Don't do that. So yeah, custom role, you are just defining at the permission level, and you can mix, basically mix a bunch of permissions that are especially dedicated for some different predefined role. For example, if your service account needs to be able to reach a Cloud SQL instance, to read some bucket, some you can imagine a bunch of stuff. Cool, guys. I think we can just stop right now, if it's okay with you.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you just switch to the other slide? I have just something to share.
Yeah,
To go very
quickly.
very quickly. The last event should be the next one, and we just changed the date, so it will be April the 13th. Because we have students, and originally the first date was during the exam. So we decided just to move a little bit.
Just a quick question. Does anyone have already scheduled the exam, or at the moment, no?
And this is the only important things. Normally, we should finish everything during the last session.
Yeah.
Because the session 5 should be anything else. The session 6 should be a buffer of if we still have things to review, so we finish it on
Yeah.
And the last thing is if you want it, the notebook LM QR code for the documentation. And I think we're good. Very good. Still the same GitHub. If you want to reuse the slide of the project with Benjamin.
And don't hesitate for the last session if you want us to deep dive a little bit more in detail for any part you were talking to me about databases, don't hesitate.
So what is the structure that we can expect? It's like just an open session where we can ask questions?
I just have 2 or 3 slides about authentication mechanisms, and after that is just we have a Kahoot to just mimic a little bit more in detail the context of an exam, and after that this is a free question and free topics. So don't hesitate. Bring with you all your question, your use case, or whatever. We can just play with the console and do some cool stuff.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Avec plaisir.